Zunächst möchte ich Ihnen sagen, wie sehr ich es bedauere, nicht bei Ihnen sein zu können. Leider erfordern die Umstände in Ottawa mein Bleiben und ich möchte daher auf diese Weise an Ihren Konferenz teilhaben. Ich hoffe, ich kann mich trotz dessen in Ihre Überlegungen und Diskussionen mit einbringen. Canada's experience with language has shaped the country in many ways. Language is a defining characteristic for Canada, just as class is for Britain and race for the United States. It's been a source of conflict, compromise, and creativity. Canada is often described as a bilingual country. This is misleading shorthand for the fact that Canada has a policy of official bilingualism. That's quite different. Let me explain. There are some 200 languages spoken in Canada, including 50 Aboriginal languages. But 98% of the 33 million Canadians speak at least one of Canada's two official languages, English and French. Of those 33 million Canadians, there are only 5 million who are bilingual in English and French. There are 24 million who speak only English and 4 million who speak only French. We are, in effect, two language communities, both of which are predominantly unilingual, living side by side, with substantial minority language communities. There are almost 1 million French-speaking Canadians living outside Quebec and almost 1 million English-speaking Canadians living inside Quebec, which is Canada's only majority French-speaking province. Official bilingualism means that the federal government should be bilingual so that citizens don't have to be. This is one of the paradoxes of official bilingualism. There are often more bilingual citizens in countries that are not officially bilingual because in those countries, everyone has to learn the language of the majority in order to deal with the state. In Canada, the Official Languages Act, passed in 1969, created the position I hold. I am the 6th Commissioner of Official Languages, and I have the responsibility for reporting to Parliament on the degree to which federal institutions are living up to their responsibilities under the Act, a dual role of protection and promotion. Quelle est la pertinence de l'expérience canadienne pour l'Europe? À plusieurs égards, vous nous devancez. Et qu'est-ce que le Canada peut apprendre de l'Europe? Permettez-moi de vous donner quelques exemples. D'abord, le Canada a longuement étudié des exemples européens et internationaux avant d'adopter sa politique linguistique. Pendant les années 60, une commission d'enquête sur le bilinguisme et le biculturalisme a étudié l'approche individualiste de l'Afrique du Sud, où les citoyens pouvaient utiliser les deux langues officielles de l'époque, l'anglais et l'afrikaans, partout au pays. En même temps, la commission a étudié l'approche territoriale de la Suisse et la Belgique. Finalement, elle a observé le compromis finlandais, des régions unilingues et bilingues et un pays qui offre des services centraux dans les deux langues. A bit like Goldilocks choosing among the 3 bowls of porridge, Canada was inspired by the Finnish Compromise. This country is too large for a single individualist approach, but minority language communities are too significant to permit a purely territorial approach. Canada is complex in terms of language. Language questions are rights-based, enshrined in a Charter of Rights, defendable before the courts, and also values-based. The Official Languages Act applies to federal institutions and the federal government, but not to provincial institutions. Quebec is officially unilingual with French as its official language. New Brunswick is officially bilingual. Ontario has a French Language Services Act which requires certain provincial services to be provided in French in designated areas. Nunavut, one of the Northern Territories, is officially trilingual, English, French, and Inuktitut. Canada also has 2 legal systems, common law, and in Quebec, the Civil Code. But the Civil Code has never been officially translated from French into English. Just to make things really complicated, jurisdiction is divided between the federal and provincial governments, and the provinces have jurisdiction over health and education. I sometimes joke that the Fathers of Confederation in 1867 decided all the important powers should be with the federal government, defense, foreign affairs, major tools of the economy, whereas the minor trivial things like health and education should be left to the provinces. As history has evolved, the citizens took somewhat different views as to what was their most important priorities, which have created a certain number of tensions between the federal government and the provinces over who should deliver those services. So no one should talk loosely about adopting the Canadian model. As a Canadian political scientist once observed, it doesn't work in theory, but it works in practice. Il y a plusieurs éléments de l'expérience canadienne qui ont été repris et améliorés par des pays européens. Je pense par exemple à notre innovation en éducation dans le domaine de l'immersion et des échanges. Comme vous savez, l'expérience de l'instruction dans une autre langue que la langue maternelle des élèves a été essayée et étudiée par le professeur Wallace Lambert dans les années 60. Cette expérience a été mise à l'essai un peu partout avec beaucoup de succès. À la fonction publique fédérale, le gouvernement a mis plusieurs outils langagiers à la disposition des fonctionnaires et de la population générale. Par exemple, le portail linguistique du Canada. C'est un outil qui offre de nombreux renseignements sur les langues au Canada, les professions langagières et de nombreuses ressources de notion à l'autre. On y trouve aussi plusieurs outils d'aide à la rédaction, tant en français qu'en anglais, dont le site Termium, qui permet de trouver la bonne traduction. Termium Plus compte maintenant près de 4 millions de termes en anglais, en français, en espagnol et en portugais. Mais avec une rigueur qui fait partie de la tradition intellectuelle de l'Europe, vous nous avez dépassé avec la création du cadre européen commun de référence pour les langues. C'est un outil extrêmement important pour la gestion de l'apprentissage des langues. The same pattern can be observed with student exchanges. Canada may have felt that it was innovating in 1936 with the creation of a student exchange organization, the Society for Educational Visits and Exchanges in Canada, originally known as Visite Interprovinciale, but it's been vastly eclipsed by the Erasmus program in Europe. In both cases, I'm hoping that we can learn from what you may have learned from us. As you know, bilingualism is a skill that can build bridges between languages and cultures. That's why I believe that linguistic duality and cultural diversity are complementary and not opposites, as some incorrectly believe. That is to say, in Canada, there are 2 majority languages, but officially there are not 2 majority cultures. Linguistic duality is a fundamental value in Canada, which serves as a bridge between cultures. It is, in my view, the starting point for Canadian multiculturalism. Canadian society is always seeking a balance between cultural respect and social cohesion. After meeting Canadians of different backgrounds from all across the country, I can say that numerous minority groups are very open to learning the 2 official languages. Immigrant families often choose to encourage their children to master several languages and make multilingualism a priority due to national and international market forces. This, I must say, is not a uniquely Canadian phenomenon. Immigrants to other countries often choose to learn the minority language as a tool for personal integration. A Council of Europe executive once told me that one of his sons signed up for a class in Dublin to learn Irish and found that all of his fellow classmates were immigrants to Ireland. We are seeing that language mastery is becoming more and more a leadership competency. If we understand this, what does that mean for language teachers? It means that they need to teach much more than just points of grammar and style. It means they should be prepared to use their language mastery and their teaching skills to instruct their students in some of the key concepts of management: communications, leadership coaching, negotiations, financial administration, and human resources management. Je peux témoigner personnellement de l'importance de ce genre de formation. Quand j'ai obtenu ce poste, je n'avais pas suivi de cours en français depuis 30 ans. Mon chef de cabinet a eu l'idée géniale d'embaucher un ancien commissaire adjoint au commissariat à la retraite pour rafraîchir mes compétences linguistiques en français. J'ai donc suivi une formation détaillée et rigoureuse, pas sur la langue française, mais sur la loi sur les langues officielles, clause par clause, en français. Si la langue est le véhicule principal de la culture dans le sens large du terme, les professionnels de la langue doivent transmettre les valeurs culturelles de ceux qui parlent la langue en question. Devant la réalité de la mondialisation et le défi de la diversité, je crois que les enseignants auront un rôle de plus en plus important à jouer. Comme professeurs, certainement, mais aussi en tant qu'interprètes culturels dans un environnement en constante évolution. As citizens who must adapt to the new demands defining our world today, we're up against a major challenge. We've heard in recent decades how the world is getting smaller and borders are disappearing, all in the name of globalization. How can people succeed in our constantly changing world? There's no question that new technologies in the areas of networking and personal computing have changed how we communicate. Citizens of developed countries have been communicating in real time without being geographically linked for a while now, and the wonder of this has quickly become business as usual in our daily lives. As a consequence, the dialogue among people with common interests has vastly increased. Geographical borders have less and less relevance in global dialogue, but language does still continue to be extremely important. And let's not forget that technology is yet to reach many developing countries at the same level as in the developed world, and this will surely become one of the world's most important challenges in our time. Now, the world of Google, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter are all part of a globalized universe. Conversations take place in real time around the world. And those of us who are concerned with the growth and development of language communities need to grasp the transformative importance of these new technologies. These are tools that language professionals cannot ignore. As an example, the Google Translate application is becoming more and more accurate to and from many languages. And even though we will always need human input, it's impossible to ignore how quickly the shape of human communications is shifting. The Canadian thinker Marshall McLuhan was prescient 40 and 50 years ago when he reflected on communications and technology. Just as printing changed how humans communicate, technology is transforming human relationships. It's possible to imagine that someday the language one speaks will be neither obstacle nor advantage to world communication, because technology will allow everyone to interpret written text or spoken language to his or her language of choice. But that is still a long way off. Until then, it is critically important that conversations, whether national or international, take place between human beings who have learned to understand each other. During this period of social, religious, and cultural uncertainty, contact, and change, language professionals are called upon to play a critical role as teachers, interpreters, and guides. You have a whole world to present to generations of today and tomorrow. I salute you, and I wish you luck. Thank you very much.